Hello YouTube, this is Duke the Porcupine, and today I bring you my week 2 battle against Josh. I know this is a little late, been really busy and it got delayed itself. We had two unfortunate DCs, both were pretty late in the game. I think the first one, we each had two Pokemon left, both were hurt. So that was coming down to the wire, and then second game, I knew mostly what he had, so I was able to have a fairly commanding lead the second game, but it's disconnected also. So I had a 5-2 lead, I think, at that point. But anyway, so as you can see, I brought Crawdaunt, Heracross, Fortress, Jolteon, Goodra, and Florges. My opponent brought Charizard, what was that, Tornadus, whatever, Cresselia, Vaporeon, Terrakion, and Sableye. So I actually predicted him to bring everything except the Charizard. The Charizard is, I believe, Mega Charizard Y. So, need to keep that into account. Rocks would be good to get up, but if we don't get them up, it's whatever. So, just going over a couple things real quick. I did some calcs before the battle, and also from the DCs, I knew a couple things. So, I did a calc with Crawdaunt. If I get a Dragon Dance up and I'm jolly, I will outspeed a Mega Charizard Y, even if it's timid, at +1 speed. So, that was good. Also, Crawdaunt would KO in one hit with a Crab Hammer against Mega Charizard Y, even in the sun. So, I knew those very important things. I knew that if Heracross gets burned, he will run a train through pretty much anything on his team. I knew Fortress walled Terrakion very well. I knew Goodra and Florges were a very strong special defensive wall, and Jolteon pretty much hit everything on his team hard. So, obviously the Tornadus will outspeed pretty much everything on my team except maybe Jolteon. I've seen him, I believe I knocked off in the game previous and he had wide lens, so helps those Hurricanes hit a little better. One time he brought his Terrakion in on Jolteon, and it did a ton of damage with Thunderbolt. And that seemed a little suspicious, and then he brought it in again in the second battle. So I was led to believe that that is his Jolteon counter, so the only way that could counter Jolteon is if it outsped it, so it had to be a Scarf Terrakion. That was, I mean, I didn't have that guaranteed, but I was pretty sure that it was Scarfed, and obviously everything else is pretty clear the set. So anyway, the previous two battles, he led with Sableye both battles, so I go ahead and predict again that he is going to lead with Sableye again. So I decide, I think, we'll have a Guts Heracross with me, and I'm going to presume that he's going to lead with Sableye again, because that thing is actually a pain in the butt. Just, it's a huge annoyance. It's just there. It's super annoying, whatever. But if I lead with Crawdaunt, obviously he could taunt me so I don't start setting up, but he could also burn me and make Crawdaunt useless for the rest of the game. So my thought process is, if I lead with Crawdaunt and he leads with Sableye, that is going to be so tempting just to not poison, burn right away. So if he decides to go for a burn and I switch into Heracross, get that burn, get that Guts boost, alright, we're ready to go. So, anyway, jumping into this battle. So, start the battle off. I lead with Crawdaunt, like I said, and he leads with his Iris, which is Sableye. So, plan is going well so far. So, I switch out Crawdaunt, go right into Heracross, hoping for that Will-O-Wisp. I am praying for that Will-O-Wisp. And I get that Will-O-Wisp. So now I'm a Guts boosted Heracross. So, I'm Choice Scarf, so obviously I'm stuck with a move, but any single one of my moves can KO. Every one of my moves can KO at least one guy on his team. Obviously not the same move can KO everyone on his team, but... So anyway, he switches out because obviously he doesn't want to lose that, so I go for Mega Horn. It does an insane amount of damage, but I know he's going to outspeed me, so... And he would easily KO me, and I'd love to keep this Guts boosted Heracross for later, so... I gotta switch him out. I switch into Rawr, the Goodra, take this hit, and it could easily take out this thing. So he goes for Hurricane, hits that, gets the confusion, and I'm like, I'm not going to deal with this. I have 2 special walls on my team right now, so I'm going to go into Florges here, say screw that confusion, whatever. So he goes for U-turn, gets switch priority, and so he switches out, not very effective, and he decides to go into Terrakion here, I believe. Yeah, he goes into Terrakion, so I decided to go for a protect just to kind of scout what he does. I have leftovers, so there's no harm. I'm assuming that he's Choice Scarf, so I go for protect to see what he's going to go for here. Because if I hit him with Moonblast, it's going to almost KO him. He goes for Iron Head, so obviously I don't want to stay in here and take that. So I decide to switch out into Fortress, because Fortress is this thing's worst nightmare. Super Wall to it. Iron Head's going to do, I don't think, anything after leftovers, or maybe it'll do a couple damage after leftovers. So we get Lefty's recovery. Get me, well, he did 4 damage after Lefty's, so obviously Terrakion's not going to work out here. So I know he's switching, so I just decide to set up my Stealth Rocks here. Get that residual damage. That Regenerator in this guy is kind of a pain in the butt, so if I could limit how much he can recover each turn, that would be awesome sauce. So I switch out, knowing that, oh, in a previous game he used Heat Wave, so I knew that he had Heat Wave, so he could take me out very easily. So obviously he predicts that I'm going to switch because I knew that he had Heat Wave now, so just goes for the Hurricane, get some good damage off. Florges can wall this thing pretty easily. Moonblast can hurt a lot. I have Wish, Protect on this thing, so, and Calm Mind, I believe, so I can, nothing resists it, set up a little bit and still have a lot of recovery. So he goes into Vaporeon. This thing's a huge pain in the butt, I can tell you that. So I just go for a Moonblast, hit something sort of hard, hopefully, which hits that thing decently well, and it gets the special attack drop, which is, I'm just like, yes, the hacks are going my way. So the first game was very hacksy. I think there was some flinches, some burns. I think there was 2 scald burns actually, like 2 out of 3 scald burns or something like that. So I just decided to go for a Moonblast just because, hey, what can he even really do to me right now if he has lowered special attack? So I'm just getting my recovery slowly but surely, and he goes for a Wish. Lefty's recovery, I had Lefty's first, so I clearly will go first. Either that or I want a bunch of speed ties, but he's wanting to get his Vaporeon recovered back up, so I go into Jolteon so I can hit this thing hard. He's obviously going to protect to heal himself, so I go into Jolteon because this Vaporeon at -1 special attack is not going to do a whole lot to me, and I can do a lot to him. So he's going to go for protect so he can get some Lefty's recovery so he can try to take this T-Bolt. It's pretty obvious what I'm going to do now. I think I'm going to go for another T-Bolt. You never know. Maybe I'll mix it up. I do mix it up because I predicted him to switch out into Cresselia or something like that to try to take the hit a little better. But he stays in with Vaporeon, goes for Scalds, hoping for a burn or something like that, start whittling Jolteon down. That would be very helpful for him if he could get some residual damage on Jolteon, especially with Jolteon with a Life Orb. He will whittle down a bunch, so he goes for a Protect, obviously, to get some more life back. I go for T-Bolt. This would be disastrous if I actually got burned from that Scald, because that residual damage would be wearing Jolteon down. So I go for, obviously, T-Bolt again, because now I'm just like, okay, he's staying in. Take this Vaporeon out. Finally, I'm like, oh, thank goodness. His core is starting to be whittled down. And so he decides to bring out Sableye, and I predict him to go for a Will-O-Wisp or something along those lines. I just don't want Jolteon to be taken out. So if he goes for Will-O-Wisp, what you know, I'm already burned with Heracross. So he goes for Will-O-Wisp, and I believe I just go for I can pretty much go for anything. It's going to hit his team hard. I have Knockoff, Mega Horn, I think Earthquake, and Close Combat. I believe that's my set this game. So obviously it's going to hit anything hard. I believe I go for a Knockoff here just to remove an item from anything. Well, except this thing. So, oh no, I go for Mega Horn just because it would, I believe that was the move that would OHKO Sableye no matter what. So, he goes into Charizard. I'm taking burn damage. He's going to Mega Charizard Y. I want to try to preserve my differential, so I go into Goodra, because Goodra should be able to take any hit from Mega Charizard Y easy. I have a Salt Vest Gudra here. This thing is a special wall. It takes hit for days on the special side. So he Mega Charizard Y, or he Mega Evolves, gets the Drought, and he is going to fire off a Fire Blast. So this is going to hit decently hard, but not hard enough for me to be concerned. So he goes for Air Slash, hoping for the flinches, and doesn't get it. I just go for the Dragon Pulse just for fun, just to make sure. If he switched out to anything, he could actually had rocks up, so he probably wouldn't switch out. So Dragon Pulse takes him out. Not a big deal. He goes into this thing, takes rocks damage. Good, thank goodness for that 25%. So I got very lucky there and avoided the Hurricane. I believe it was a percent chance for me to be O-code, or not O-code, but taken out from that range. There was a chance. It wasn't a 100% chance, so I got a little bit lucky there. So take him out with the Ice Beam. Obviously, I'm going to go into Fortress to wall this thing for days. This thing can't do anything to Fortress. It's just a beefy wall. He goes for Earthquake. Would have been an easy KO on Gudra, but it does actually a decent amount for being such a strong wall. Fortress is. And I just go for, I believe, Gyro Ball because it does 40-ish% to Terrakion, surprisingly. So... oh no, actually I had double switch out because I knew he was not going to stay in. There's no point in him staying in. I go out into this thing, so obviously this thing can easily take out something on his team, or at least hit something very hard. So I just decide, you know what? I'll take some burn damage. But I believe I just go for a knockoff here. Either get rid of his item. It did about 90-95% damage, so that crit might have mattered. Most likely didn't, but might have mattered. It depends on the roll that I would have got. If I would have got the lowest roll, I think he would have lived. If I would have got a medium or high roll, he would have been dead. So he goes into this thing, and I want to save Heracross as best as I can. Or no, I just knock off his item, get rid of any recovery he has. Get rid of those leftovers. I don't want this thing stalling me out, calm minding up, or anything like that. I would rather get rid of his item and sacrifice Heracross here. So Heracross goes down, sadly. You did your job, Heracross. Good job. And... going to Jolteon, kind of see what he's going to go for. It would be close to a KO from that range. I'm not sure if I would have. I think it was more of, oh yeah, I was going to just go for a Shadow Ball, do some damage to him. So he goes into Terrakion. I believe this is all he has left now, actually, at this point. It's Terrakion and... so obviously I want to preserve Jolteon, so I switch out into Fortress, which... a little predictable, but it's the best thing. So he goes for a close combat here, which I believe is his best move against me, but does the most damage out of all his moves so far, but now he's at -1 defense, so obviously he doesn't want to stay in and take this Gyro Ball that's going to be coming his way, because now it'll definitely KO Terrakion from this range. So he goes back out into Cresselia. So I believe this is the last two Pokemon he has, is Cresselia and Terrakion. So... I figured out from earlier that this thing has Calm Mind. Let's see, Calm Mind. What is it? Moonlight. One other move. Maybe Protect and a Psychic move to hit me. So obviously I go into Crawdaunt, expecting a Psychic move of some sort, so or Recovery even. So he goes for Moonlight. Obviously he doesn't have an item, so knockoff isn't going to be doing a crazy amount of damage anymore. And I just decided to go for a Dragon Dance, thinking, what can he really do to me? I'm not really sure. So he predicts me to attack him. So he sets up... oh, Reflect is his fourth move. So he sets up the Reflect. I'm like, well, this kind of sucks. I just started setting up, and he set up a Reflect. So I'm like, I don't really know what he can do to me. I don't think I'd seen all of his moves at this point. So I just set up another D-Dance. He goes for Moonlight just to recover some life, just to stall it out a little bit. And... I knew, since he doesn't have an item, knockoff isn't going to be doing a ton of damage, but at +3 with a Reflect, it does 50-60% damage. And he started setting up Calm Mind, so I was just like, I don't want to deal with me like accidentally misclicking, like switching out or something like that, me zoning out. So I was just like, I'm just going to go for the kill now. So go for the knockoff. Does about 50-55% damage. He sets up just another Calm Mind, so obviously at +3 I'm outspeeding him. So I'm just going to go for another knockoff next turn. Takes him out. And then all he's got left is Terrakion at a +3 attack, +3 speed, Crawdaunt. Should be able to take this out pretty easy. His Reflect wears off, so I'm not even going to mess around with some. I know he's Scarfed, so he might actually still outspeed me. So I just go for the Aqua Jet to have that priority and believe that is the game. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Yep, that's the game. I won 5-0, so that was a very strong win for me. So it's a very strong win for me. That helps very much against a division opponent. It's very key to beat your division opponents as much as possible. You play them twice in a season, so we'll see Josh the very last week actually of the season. So we'll have a nice rematch. He made a couple trades already. So this will be interesting to see how he bounces back and for our rematch in a couple weeks actually, since I recorded this so late. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the battle, leave a like, please. Subscribe. Anyway, and I'll see you guys later.